Hello everyone, welcome back to another GIS mathematics lecture video. And in this video, I want to talk about what we're going to be going through in this module. And that's the idea, at least at the basic level, of matrix algebra. Right, matrix algebra. And I think matrix algebra is one of these topics that doesn't get covered as much in high school. And I think a lot of people sort of are afraid of it or have a sense of forbidding about it. And it's really actually pretty straightforward once you get past a couple of really critical things. And that first critical thing is just terminology. Right, both from a sort of language perspective and also from a symbols and mathematics perspective, matrix algebra really does just look different when you write it and when you talk about it. And so understanding that terminology is sort of the first barrier that you need to overcome. And the second is the arithmetic. Right, the math, what you actually do with matrices. Now, some of the matrix arithmetic is intuitive, and some of it isn't. And understanding those cases where it isn't is going to be extremely important for being able to do anything with matrices. And again, matrices, which we'll talk a lot about in just a second, right now I'm keeping things kind of vague intentionally, but this idea of a matrix is really of fundamental importance to not just GIS, but many, many applications across numerous fields. And again, the terminology and some of the basic arithmetic are really the two key things that sort of make it seem intimidating. But once you understand them, it's really pretty straightforward. So what I want to do in this module is I want to go through the terminology. I want to talk about what a scalar is, right? What a vector is, what matrices are, or how we define a matrix. And then I want to talk about something called the dimensions. Right? How do we describe a matrix in terms of its dimensions? And then once we understand these three, particularly scalars, vectors, and matrices, I want to talk about how we do arithmetic, because it is a little bit different, right? How do we add them? How do we subtract them? And then this is the one where things get to get interesting, and that's multiplication. Right? How do we multiply things? And in specific, we're going to talk about scalar multiplication, we're going to talk about this idea of matrix multiplication, I'm going to put a star here in red because this is really the thing that most trips people up. I know it tripped me up a lot when I was first learning it, because this right here, matrix multiplication, is really where things with matrices get different. So having a good understanding of what's going on is going to help you a long way in being able to make sure that you don't make the sort of mistakes that we often see. And then finally, we're going to wrap this module up with something called the dot product, which is just sort of a different type of multiplication, right? So that's sort of, if I had to say, again, repeating myself slightly, that if there was anything with matrices that make it difficult, it's this terminology, which can be a little confusing if you're not familiar, and then this idea of multiplication, because there's actually two types. There's multiplication and something called the dot product, that both sort of involve what we would consider to be multiplication, but they have very different results, and they do very different things in terms of the way that you actually do the math. So again, this was meant to be just an overview of the module. I wouldn't expect you to understand any of these things out front, but hopefully you get an idea of where this module is going. And if you have any questions, please reach out. Thank you.